There are a handful of different ways that you can become a Lego seller on the internet, and you can actually build a business selling Lego online. For example, you can be a Lego investor who buys Lego sets before they retire and holds them while the values go up. Or you can be a seller on Bricklink, where you open up the Lego boxes and you part out the pieces and then you sell the pieces individually. Or you could specialize in Lego minifigures and you could sell the minifigures on Bricklink or on eBay and make a business out of that. You could also sell used Lego sets. You could go on Craigslist or on Facebook Marketplace and find people who are selling Lego sets that they don't want anymore, that are built or that are gathering dust in an attic. You can buy those, you can finish the build, and then you can make sure all the parts are there and sell them as complete sets on eBay. And whether you decide to specialize in sealed sets or used sets or minifigures or parts, there are so many different ways that you can actually source your inventory. And in this video, I want to share a bit of a story about a way that I accumulated a lot of inventory recently that is a little bit different than what a lot of Lego investors focus on. This is not inventory that I went and bought from retail stores. It's also not inventory that I got from a distributor. This is inventory that I bought from another Lego investor who was getting out of the game. And he had a massive Lego collection that he wanted to sell. He had a lot of inventory and we came to a deal. Now this was a $10,700 deal. I gave this Lego seller $10,700 to buy out his inventory in its entirety. And I'm going to share the story with you today. Now I wish I had more footage of this deal, but it was a lot of work and we were busy moving boxes and going through the inventory and different things. So I didn't think to film the whole process. I wish that I did, but I'm going to tell the story. I will share some photos and different things. And I'm also going to share with you some of the sets that were in this collection, what I bought them for, what I plan to sell them for, and what my expected profit is. Now, this actually happened about a month and a half ago. So I've already been selling a lot of the inventory on Amazon in this. So I'll be able to share some of the realities of what I've been actually selling some of this inventory for and getting my money back and the profit that I've been getting. Now here's the thing, I have not actually done many of these bulk deal buyouts in the past, and I know some people that do this a lot and are very, very successful with it. For me, it's just never been part of my strategy because I've got my systems down. I know what I'm doing when it comes to sourcing my Lego inventory, and so this has never been a way that I've been trying to source inventory. After doing it this time, I'd love to do a lot more of these bulk deals, but I've got some friends in the community that do this a lot. And so the reason I'm sharing this with you is because this is an opportunity for all of you out there who want to sell Lego online. And if you live in an area where there are a lot of other people, like in a big city, you could go on something like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or other deal websites, and you could look for people who are selling Lego collections. You would actually be surprised in the amount of Lego collections that are being sold in sealed, brand new condition, unopened. Those sets, if they're in good enough condition, could be sold on Amazon and eBay as brand new. And that's exactly what I was able to do with this deal. All of the sets that I bought in this deal were in sealed new condition. So I've been able to sell them all on Amazon, and that is part of the plan for me. Now there was a variety of sets in terms of the age and the retirement schedules of the sets. Typically as a Lego investor, of course, we look for sets that are retiring soon, but in this collection that I bought, some sets had already retired and were growing in value already. Other sets had not yet retired. Now what this meant for me is that I was able to turn around and sell some of the inventory immediately because it had already been growing in value over the last year or two since this Lego seller had been sitting on the inventory. And I was able to do that to recuperate some of the money that I actually spent on the entire collection. And then for the remaining inventory that I still want to wait a while and hold for some time while values continue to go up, then my plan was to liquidate those costs so that those would actually be in my inventory or added to my inventory completely for free, because the other stuff that's already retired would make the profit to cover for that inventory. So that was my plan here, and that's exactly how it has been playing out. Now I'm lucky because I'm a content creator about Lego investing, and so I do get people reaching out to me with emails and different things, and that's how I came across this collection. So I know that I'm a little bit lucky in that way. Not everybody is going to have someone email you asking you if you want to buy their collection. So Oliver, if you're watching this, thank you, because he's a viewer of the channel and he emailed me and just happened to be living in my area. And Oliver told me that he really needed to move out of his house in the next couple of weeks. And he had this Lego collection that was sitting in his basement that he had planned on starting to sell pretty soon, but he had not yet put the processes in place to start selling on Amazon. And now he started to feel like he was out of time because he was going to move location. Maybe the new location wouldn't have the storage space that he needed for the inventory. And so Oliver was feeling a little bit stressed sitting on this inventory and wanted to move it all out in bulk. And folks, there is a lot of people out there in your cities that feel this way because Lego investing is not for everybody, and some people get involved with the intention of building a big Lego investing business, and then maybe they need to move locations or they need to get the cash back for some reason, and they decide that they want to just sell it all and walk away, and that can happen. So that, for me and for other Lego investors who want to build this into a big business, could be an opportunity because you can partner with that person. And then what can happen is you can have a partnership between these two people because one of them wants to sell the inventory in bulk and quickly get it moved and quickly walk away. Now, it's not easy to sell $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 worth of Lego inventory. It takes up a lot of space. A lot of people wouldn't even know what to value it at. And so to find a Lego investor who specializes in this stuff makes it really easy for you to move everything out in one afternoon and get that $10,500 check. And then the other side of the deal, of course, is the Lego investor will be able to quickly find a lot of inventory that will supplement their business, and they'll be able to ship into Amazon and make a profit. So the Lego investor will bring the labor, they'll bring the boxes, they'll do all the work to sell all of those units individually, and as a result, then they will actually make a return on investment on it. So it's a win-win for both situations. Now, Oliver reached out to me with this deal, and he sent me a spreadsheet of Lego sets that he wanted to sell. Now, I was pretty impressed by the pricing right up front because Oliver actually did not try to overprice his Lego inventory. And honestly, that's what you're going to see a lot of when I see people posting in Facebook Marketplace trying to sell a Lego collection in bulk, and they always go with eBay prices or Amazon prices. Folks, if you're trying to sell $11,000, $12,000, or $20,000 worth of Lego in bulk to somebody, you cannot try to ask for eBay or Amazon prices. There is no reason that anyone's going to buy that collection from you if they have to pay the full eBay price, because if they sold it on eBay the next day, they would actually lose money because they'd have to pay eBay's fees. So you are never going to be able to sell at those prices if you're trying to sell in bulk. If you sell in bulk, you are asking the other person to put in all of the labor and all of the work involved. And for us, this was 2 days of labor for two of us. Me and my wife both worked on this deal for 2 days. And so there is the labor that goes into it, and then there is these risks that they need to take on to make sure that everything is not counterfeit and make sure that everything's in good condition and sell it through. And then they're also going to have a couple of returns and a couple of damages and different things like that. So when selling in bulk, you definitely need to offer a deal on the inventory and give it below what it is worth on the market so that it works for both parties. And that's what Oliver did right out the gate. He did not try to overprice his inventory. He gave a fair price right away. Now, of course, we did have a little bit of negotiation and we very quickly landed on a price that worked for both of us. That price was $10,700. Now, I was traveling back from Virginia after seeing my in-laws for a couple days, and this was a very sudden change to our plans. We were actually looking forward to having a day off on a Sunday after visiting family for a couple of days when this opportunity came along. And when talking to Oliver, I realized that he actually needed to get this deal done within a couple of days. And so we changed our plans. My wife and I decided, okay, we will drive past Oliver's house on the way back from Virginia, look at this collection, make sure that everything is legit, and then the next day we're going to go and we're actually going to start loading up the car and bringing this inventory back. Now, that first night when we went to look at the inventory, it is important to note that when you're doing a deal like this, you need to make sure that everything is in order. Now, this can be time consuming because you want to check every single item of inventory that you are paying for, because if some seals are broken on some of those Lego sets, you're not going to be able to sell them on Amazon, you're not going to be able to sell them in new condition, and that for us just wouldn't fit with our processes. We like to have a well-oiled machine where we know exactly what we're doing with all the inventory that we buy, and we're looking for sealed inventory that we can immediately sell on Amazon. Now, interestingly, Oliver actually had 2 Death Stars that were open box, and those are highly profitable sets, but I turned them down. And the reason I turned them down is because we wanted to get this deal done quickly and did not want to deal with any used inventory because it didn't fit with our plan to sell on Amazon. We had enough going on with $10,700 worth of inventory to go through. So even though he offered a great price on these Death Stars, they were open and I would need to go through the parts and everything, and it just didn't fit with our process. So we didn't take those and we focused on all of the new condition sets instead. Now, in that first evening when we were looking at the deal, something that was important to do is make sure that everything was legit and not counterfeit. Now, Oliver turned out to be a really stand-up guy, a very, very cool guy. But before we met him, we did not know that. So what we did was we took a scale with us. Now, actually, we planned to go to Oliver's house on the way back from Virginia. What we ended up doing was going to our own inventory first because we also had a carload of stuff to drop off. And while we were there, we weighed a few sets that we had in our inventory to get precise weights on the scale, so we knew exactly how much some of these sets should weigh. The reason we did that is because when we were checking Oliver's inventory, we were able to make sure that everything was legit and not counterfeit. There are counterfeiting problems out there with Lego. It is something when you're buying from somebody else that you should be aware of. And so we avoided that by weighing some of the sets, and then when we got to look at the inventory, we were able to weigh the same sets because we had already looked at the spreadsheet. We knew what he had, and then by checking the weights and comparing them, we were able to see that these were legitimate Lego sets. Now also, we've been doing this for many years, and so we really didn't have any concerns about missing some counterfeiting, and we knew right away that this inventory was legit and that Oliver was a stand-up guy. And the other thing was there were a lot of different SKUs in this deal. He had 150 different SKUs, and many of them he had multiples of course, but he had 150 different Lego sets. Now to me, that told me immediately that this was not counterfeit. We had no concerns here because nobody out there is going to be able to counterfeit 150 different Lego SKUs. It's just not going to happen. And as soon as we saw the inventory, a lot of it was still in the big Walmart and Target boxes that Oliver had ordered the stuff in, and so it made sense to us right away that this was a legitimate deal. Now the next thing that we wanted to do was make sure that everything was accounted for and that everything was not damaged. So we went through all of the inventory that evening to make sure that everything was good. We did find some damaged inventory, and we talked to Oliver about that. We kind of negotiated a bit of a difference in the price for some of those sets, but broadly the stuff was in really good condition and we knew that we'd be able to sell it on Amazon. Now that first evening we agreed to do the deal after we saw the inventory, so we told Oliver that we will be buying it for $10,700, and because there was so much inventory, we decided to take a first load of inventory that evening. We didn't have a truck or a van with us, so we couldn't take everything right there, and it ended up, I think it was around 11 p.m. when we were finishing loading our first carload of Lego inventory, and we drove that back and we unloaded, and then the next morning, a Sunday morning, we went back down at around 8 a.m. to Oliver's house, and we started going through another load of stuff. We ended up with 2 more carloads that same day, and by the time it was around 4 or 5 o'clock, we were back in our own space unloading the inventory and checking it all into our inventory. Now as we were checking in the inventory, we knew that we were going to sell a lot of it immediately. So like I said, the plan was some of the stuff we'll be holding for values to go up, but a lot of the other stuff were already retired, and we knew we would be selling it immediately to try and recover a lot of that $10,700 investment. So right away, as we were checking the boxes into our inventory, we were removing stuff that we were going to sell. Now thankfully, amongst these 150 SKUs, there were some very good Lego investments in there, and Oliver actually gave us some pretty good prices on some sets that already had gone up a lot in value. A good example is the Clone Trooper Command Station set. Oliver had 46 of these, and he gave them to us at around $15 a unit. Now these were $15 when they were available in stores about a year ago, but since then the price has gone up to around $45. So Oliver gave them to us at the MSRP, but after a year of price growth on Amazon, we're able to sell them for $45 a unit. Now after we pay the selling fees and everything, then it's going to be probably around a $15 profit per unit, which is 100% return on investment. And the good thing about this is that it's an immediate sale on this particular set because we don't need to wait for the price to go up anymore because it's already had some really nice price growth in the last year. So Clone Trooper Command Station was one example. He also had 17 units of the classic Batmobile set, which he gave to us for around $28, and we knew that this set was selling on Amazon for around $66 right at that point. So we could pay $28 a unit for these and then go ahead and sell them immediately on Amazon for $66 because the price had already risen quite a lot and we didn't need to wait any more time. And then a third really good example was the Stranger Things Brickhead set. This is the Demogorgon and 11 set. He had 31 units of this set and he gave them to us at just under $15 a unit. Now on Amazon, we knew that this was selling for around $44 at the time. So we could go ahead and sell those 31 units for about 100% return on investment immediately. Now these were 3 examples of sets that had already been retired that we were able to go ahead and list immediately on Amazon. But then there were also a lot of inventory that was not yet retired. So for example, we bought 5 units of the Winnie the Pooh set at $70 a piece. Now, for those of you who have been Lego investing recently, you know in the US, you were able to get Winnie the Pooh for $50 recently. So we actually overpaid relative to what you were able to buy that set for in Walmart. But at $70, I'm still happy with that purchase. That's still a good investment. We're just going to have to wait some time before we can go ahead and sell that inventory. And this was the case for a lot of the sets on the list. Not everything we could go ahead and sell right away. Some of the stuff we could sell right away and get our money back and get some profit to cover the cost of the inventory. But then there were other sets like the Winnie the Pooh or the Bookshop or the Justifier that we got at a good price and then we added into our inventory for storage while values started to go up over the next year or two. Now, I'm not going to walk through all 150 different SKUs that were in this bulk deal, but I will give some examples, and I'm going to pull up the spreadsheet right here. So this spreadsheet is what we used to create this deal, and this is what Oliver sent me when he was showing me what he had in his inventory. So here we can have the set number, we have the set name, and then we have the quantity that he had available. As you can see immediately, we have a lot of different sets here. None of the sets were particularly large quantities. The most that we had was then the Clone Trooper set that I talked about, which was 46 quantity. In column D here, we have the total cost. So that is the overall amount for this SKU for all of the quantity that he had. And then we have the cost per unit. So for example, on the Clone Troopers here at the top, he had 46 units available and the total cost was $683. So that's what I paid him for all 46 units. That works out to be a $14.84 cost per unit. And again, I knew that I could sell these on Amazon for around $45. In fact, when I was doing this calculation, the number that I put in column F here was $40. So that was the Amazon price at the time when I was looking at the Amazon price to calculate my profitability. So for these sets, what I did when I was calculating out this deal and whether it made sense for me to do, I checked some of these sets on Amazon and checked what the current prices were. So I added those in column F right here, and then I did an approximate fees. This is a 20% number, so this is not perfect because for lower price sets it'll be a little more, for higher price sets it'll be a little less, but I took an average of 20% of fees. So again, it depends on the price of the set, how much fees you will actually pay for selling on Amazon. 20% is a pretty reasonable number to use if you want to be careful with this. So I took a 20% fee and then I calculated out what my profit would be here in column H. Then I calculated a total profit because that's a profit per unit in column H. Got to multiply that by the number of units you're getting, of course, to get a total profit. And then, I calculated out a total payout. So that is basically after we sell the items on Amazon, how much money will Amazon give me back? So that's the profit plus the cost of the item is what Amazon will pay me out after I sell the items. Now, the reason I wanted to know the total payout is because I wanted to know how long it would take for me to get my money back. Because, for example, if I spend $10,700 on inventory and then I ship out $5,000 of that inventory to be sold right away, but that $5,000 is going to make me 100% return on investment, then what I'm going to get back from Amazon will be $10,000. I'll get my original 5K back plus the extra 5K of profit. So I get 10K back. If I spent $10,700 on the inventory and I get 10K back after selling just 5K worth, then I've almost got my money back, but I still have $5,700 worth of inventory that I've decided to hold on to until the values go up. So that was the logic behind what I was doing here. Okay, so I was going to sell some of the inventory right away. The profits would get me my money back, and then I would keep some other inventory. And the total payout column was my rough way of understanding that. Now, again, these numbers are very rough. This was back of the napkin type stuff because we had a couple of days to work out this deal. I just wanted to know ballpark, how would this work out? Would this be a good deal or not? So I did these very rough calculations based on current Amazon selling prices. How much would my total payout be? And then calculating out the return on investment of those sets as well. Now, as you'll see here, some of these have negative numbers. So for example, right down here, we can see a couple of sets that are actually in the negative. Right here, we can see the profit is negative. The total profit is negative and the negative return on investment. Shane, why are you buying sets that have a negative return on investment? Well, again, some of these sets are buy and hold. So I was not planning on selling some of these sets right away. I was going to hold them until next year or the year after because that's what I do. I'm a Lego investor. So for example, the bookshop or the Justifier set. These are sets that have not yet retired, so I was able to get them at a reasonable price. The bookshop, he had only one unit in stock, and he sold me that for $175, which is below the MSRP. And I was okay with that price, so I paid $175 for that set. If I sold it right now on Amazon, I would make a loss because it was still in stock by Amazon, and I couldn't sell it at a profit until after Amazon would go out of stock and the price starts to go up. So I'm not selling some of this inventory right away, and that is why we see negative profits here. I'm going to wait until the profit becomes green, and then I'll make a return on investment over time. But some of them were immediate good return on investment. So for example, the first one that we see here is the Clone Trooper. Troopers that I talked about, that at 116% return on investment right away, with a total profit expected of $790. We have the Stranger Things here with 137% return, a total profit expected of $631. In fact, I'll zoom in a little bit here to make this easier. The Batman Classic as well with a 89% return and a $422 profit expected. And again, these are rough numbers using a 20% fee. So, you know, the reality will turn out to be a little bit different. And the selling price also will turn out to be a little bit different on some of these. Clone Troopers, I ended up selling for above $40. So that actually already ended up being a better profit story than what I've got here. So looking down through all of these first handful of sets here, we can see that I would be investing this amount, and then I would be making this amount back in pure profit on top of that. Now again, there was a lot of work in this, so it was a win-win situation for Oliver, but also for us. A lot of you might be asking, why did Oliver not just want to go and sell all of this inventory on Amazon if we were able to make this kind of profit and this kind of return on investment? But again, the work involved, the labor of 2 people over 2 days to get everything, to check it all in, to check for damages, and then to actually ship it all out to Amazon is a big deal. And also, a lot of the inventory we're going to have to continue to store, and Oliver was moving and he couldn't continue to store his inventory. And so there is a handful of different reasons why he wasn't going to go and sell all of this inventory individually. Now, also, some of the inventory in this spreadsheet is not really that great, right? I'm showing you some of the top stuff here, but there was 150 SKUs. So there were some SKUs in there that are not fast sellers that we're going to have to sit on for a while before we can move it out. But again, because I knew that we could make at least a pretty good profit on a handful of the SKUs, on a good few SKUs, that we could get our investment back, then we're okay with waiting a little bit longer to sell some more of the inventory, and that is where we will make a profit on the deal. So some other examples of sets that we got here, we got the Batwing. So we had 3 of the Batwing, 1989 Batwing in stock. He gave us 3 of those for $458. That worked out at $150 a piece. Now that's a pretty good deal because again, this was a $200 set and it has already been retired for a year. So we were getting a retired set for below the MSRP. So that was a good price that he gave us on the Batwing. We have the Galactic Adventure Pack. That was a Walmart special. He had 8 of those in stock, $43.65 per unit, and the Amazon selling price was $105. So we were able to immediately go ahead and sell those. The Batwings we still have in stock, but the Galactic Adventure Pack, we immediately decided to ship those into Amazon for a 92% return on investment. Winnie the Pooh, we will not be selling yet, of course. That is just about to retire, so we're going to sit on those while values go up. But then we also have Sesame Street. So we had 5 Sesame Street, and we had a great price on this of $66.35 per unit. And again, this is a retired set. The current selling price on Amazon is $165. So the expected return on investment on this one was 99%. And we've already been selling these at around that price. We got the grocery store, 5 units of the grocery store, 10 units of the mini Disney Castle, 3 units of the City Passenger Train, 6 units of the Darth Vader Meditation Chamber. So overall, it was a pretty good inventory that Oliver actually had. Now again, it was a lot of SKUs, and usually I don't like to manage 150 SKUs. I like to just have 20 SKUs and go deeper on each one. But when it comes to a bulk deal like this, the reason that we were able to get a good deal from Oliver, of course, is because we were taking everything. We couldn't go and try to ask Oliver to take some stuff and not other stuff, and tell him we didn't want to take the Razor Crest because there's a UCS Razor Crest out there, and I don't think it's going to be the best investment anymore. Like, we weren't going to have that conversation, because the whole reason you get a good deal is by taking everything and removing this headache and just taking it all off their hands. So then even if some of these sets only break even, the other ones that do well will be where we will get the profit from the deal. And that is the name of the game when you're doing a bulk deal. And you just got to be willing to put up with some sets not being as good as others, and not trying to cherry pick and pick the best ones out and then leaving the person with the same headache that they had before they called you. Now, if you want to go ahead and do a bulk Lego deal like this, I do want to share a couple of quick tips with you so that you have something you can take away from this. And again, you know, there is a counterfeiting problem out there with Lego, and that is typically why I like to buy from reputable retailers, so I never have to even worry about that. But if you are buying from other people on the internet or locally, you do need to remember that that is a problem. And so you need to make sure that the stuff is not counterfeit. You also need to make sure that you're checking for damages. And when I say checking for damages, you want to check every single item that you are buying from the person, not just a couple of spot checks and then call it a day. You got to check everything, because some stuff will have fallen off a shelf and will be damaged and tape will be broken. You need to know what you're buying up front. You also got to confirm that everything that is actually physically there really is there. So when we first got to Oliver's home and we looked at his inventory, we needed to go through every single box. Now this was a lot of work, and it was in his basement. Now it was a bit of fun. We put on some music, we went through it, me and my wife, but you know, you need to do that. You need to go open every single box, look at the spreadsheet and account for every single thing, because some things could be missed, and that is possible, and that did happen. There were a couple of things that Oliver thought that he had in the inventory that we didn't actually find when we were going through the boxes. So we need to look for that and account for that. Now, the next tip is when you are communicating with the person before you go to look at the deal, ask for photos or videos. Oliver was kind enough to actually make videos for us and send it to us in advance. This could have saved us the headache of even ever going and looking at the inventory, because if he sent me videos and I saw stuff that were all opened and used and all over the place, I wouldn't have gone at all. But he sent me videos that showed me everything was well taken care of and everything was stored in boxes. So I had a certain amount of confidence going into the deal, but also I knew what I needed to take with me when going to do the deal, because I saw the state of everything. So for example, I knew that I wouldn't need to bring a lot of boxes with me because I saw that he already had a lot of boxes there. And that's important information to have. You may need to bring boxes, tote bins, or whatever you need to be able to transport the inventory. So definitely think about that in advance. Now, we did bring a flashlight. We brought a laptop so we could look at the spreadsheet. We brought a weighing scale so we could quickly check the weight of some of the sets in the beginning just to confirm. But depending on the condition of everything, you might also want to bring boxes and maybe some tape. Now, I do want to share a caveat to all of this with you if you are an Amazon seller, and that is that sometimes Amazon may ask you for invoices for your inventory, and that is a possibility that everybody runs the risk of when you are selling on Amazon. It is always possible that if Amazon were to lose one of your items or anything like that, and you raise a claim to be reimbursed, it is possible that Amazon will ask you for an invoice to prove the quantity that you sent to them. Now, we're not going to be able to prove all of this inventory. This was a bulk deal that we did with someone local. We don't have an invoice or a retail receipt to show to Amazon. Now, we are okay with taking on that risk because, again, we think that the profit is going to be good enough to cover even if we lost a set or two and we couldn't get it reimbursed by Amazon. We're more than willing to take that risk because the profit was good enough for the deal. So again, it all comes into the risks and the work that needs to be done by the buyer here. And that is why you need to make sure you're getting a good enough deal on the inventory to make it worth your time and the effort and the risks that you need to go into when you're spending $10,700 on a bulk deal. Now, just to share some high level numbers here, we can see the total SKUs in this sheet was 150. So 150 different sets that he had in the inventory. Now, those 443 different SKUs. So just 443. Again, some of them were, 30 units or 17 units or 25 units, but others were a single unit. And so that for me is a bit of a headache in terms of shipping and how it all fits into my processes. But once again, it was worth it because we think that the expected profit when all is said and done on this will be somewhere around $8,560. That would be an 80% return on investment. And again, we're already getting above 100% return as we saw on some of these sets. But after all is said and done, we're pretty confident that we'll at least do an 80% return on the entire investment here. So 8,500. Now again, it was 2 days of really hard work for both me and my wife, but we feel that it was worth it because the profit will be there whenever we sell through all the inventory. So that was our story of the recent bulk deal that we did and all of the different inventory we suddenly got that we are now selling through, and it's been a ton of fun. I just wanted to share this with you as a quick story. I wish we got more footage, but I hope you enjoyed the story time. And again, if you want to learn more about Lego investing, make sure you are in our Facebook group. The link is in the description. So get that link and join our free Facebook group about Lego investing and selling Lego online. And with that, thank you so much for being here. I'm Shane from brickbucks.net, and I will see you in the next one.